This is The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of. I'm writer-collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm writer-collector Dave Mandel. And we're brought to you by Heritage Auctions. Coming to you with the Greg Jein Collection Hollywood Entertainment Showcase Auction, March 29th at 11 a.m. Central Time on HA.com. Heritage Auctions, the Greg Jein Collection, I guess part 2 in a way. No X-Wings this time, but some good stuff. We'll get to that.
Yeah, let's cover an auction catalog for a change here, Dave.
For a change, yeah. I know. We need a little auction break. I'm auctioned out, dare I say. I hope that's okay. Yeah.
Yes. But this is actually this catalog is pretty fun, and it's a breezy one.
Yes.
Because it's brief, and also I think there's a lot of scattershot stuff in it. It sort of covers all the other corners of Greg's interests, model kits and war films and things that he was into tangentially outside of Star Trek. So it's actually pretty easy to go through, and we're going to be digging for the panning for gold, I think, in the final bits of the Greg Jein collection. But before we do, what's new in props?
Dun. What's new in props? That's our new "What's New in Props" theme song.
Treasures.
Treasures. I don't have a lot of what's new in props, but I do have an update. I know a lot of our viewers are very interested in the saga of the Jackie Chan Hong Kong posters that were discovered in my closet. It's not really an update; it's a fake update, because what happened was we told that story. And then soon thereafter, I got a text from our good friend Felix Liu, who'll be coming on one of these shows. We recorded him so long ago, but we actually haven't aired it, which I'm starting to feel a little bit bad about. But eventually, Felix, who hosts his own Felix Comic Art podcast, will be coming on our show to talk about his first prop purchase. But before that happens, anyway, he texted me, and he heard about the Jackie Chan posters and whatnot, and he goes, "Those are mine. I gave you those." And he's very into those, into like Hong Kong stuff and whatever. And I went, "Oh, okay. Like, when do you want to get them back?" And then he goes, "No, I didn't. No, I didn't really." And that was it. That's the end of my update. So no, the mystery continues.
Okay, very good.
I did show them to a poster guy who was kind of like, "Well, I don't know, maybe we'll take them." Like, it was kind of like that. So hopefully they leave me and appear in an auction catalog at some point. Yeah. I got a maybe we'll take them. So I thought that was really, really good. So
the update is that Felix did not own the posters, never knew what they were.
Nope. But he easily could have taken them from me had he actually wanted them.
Right.
Which he sort of did, sort of didn't, I think. But yeah.
And then the posters may or may not be for sale.
Correct.
Solid update, Dave.
Other than that, the closet work continues. Yeah.
Very good.
Closet work continues. Yes. How about you? Do you have a real what's new in props?
I do, Dave. It's
by the way, I should point out, I relish with for myself the non what's new in props update is perfectly fine with me at this point. Yeah.
Yes. But you are continuing your excavation of your condo, and it's going very well.
I am cleaning, I am fixing, I am building, I'm doing all these things, and I am slowly selling if you translate the X-Wing into Hong Kong Jackie Chan posters, I just need to find like another 11 million posters in my closet, and I should be able to break even. Yeah, it should be okay. So I just got to keep going through that closet
and keep that interest payment down. Yeah, as well. Yeah, very good.
12 million.
It's the national debt clock. It's just how many Jackie Chan posters keeps coming up. We should check it at the end of the podcast and see how many more Jackie Chan posters you need. Yes, I have a good what's new in props. It's right over my left shoulder. We've turned it into cameras.
If you're watching on the Stuff Dreams Are Made Of YouTube channel, you may have noticed it over Ryan's shoulder, because it's very conspicuous in a really great way.
Yes, it's my completed full Captain Kirk Wrath of Khan field jacket away team ensemble character from Wrath of Khan that I won in the Greg Jein auction. I thought it was very fitting.
Yeah, Greg Jein Part 1.
Today to bring that in. It's been about 5 months, but got the costume over from the US, got it with the great Chris Barton of Chris Barton Art out here, who made most of my displays, and he built a custom mannequin for it, and then actually came over and installed it here to make sure that everything was put together correctly. And I'm glad he did, because he was standing there at some point trying to get the jacket on and just muttered, "I hate mannequins." And I thought that was very, very fitting for a man that works so much with mannequins. But he did figured it out and got it together, and it's just great. I mean, you can see it. It's exactly how I like a mannequin to be, which is representative of the character without trying to be, anthropomorphic. Without trying to pretend,
without a weird death mask face on it that looks like they were guillotined of some sort.
Exactly.
Like when you see those death heads at Madame Tussauds.
Yeah.
Horrible. This is William Shatner soon after he was guillotined.
Yeah. Yeah. His face frozen in horror for all of time. So I'm thrilled. It has such a presence in here, and Chris figured out a way to, as you can see, I'll post better pictures for the social feed. Figured out a cool way to display the phaser with it in a way that the armature is sort of invisible, so it's hooked into the sleeve, but it holds the phaser in such a way that you can't really see it until you kind of walk around and look at it from the side. So it seems like it's just being held by the mannequin without a hand involved. So you get to see the whole phaser, and I love what he did there. Took the assignment and ran with it. So well done, Chris. Thank you very much. And I'm thrilled. I mean, it's my first Star Trek pop, and I really waited around for the right one to.
No, this was the one you wanted. I was just curious for the audience, because I think they might get a kick out of this. So in terms of the auction was end of October, right? So about 5 months ago, right? Is that kind of when it was?
Middle of October, yeah.
Middle of October. It probably took about 2-3 weeks until you got the piece arrived to you. So maybe kind of 8 a month. And then how soon did you get it to Chris, and how soon was he able to turn around a display like this?
I gave it to him just before Christmas, but to be fair, I gave him like 5 things. And I said, do this last, because I was waiting for, we were talking about the phaser, and I wanted him to have the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know if we told the audience this fact, but for those of you that remember, I purchased the HeroCon phaser in the Greg Jein Part 1 auction, or the Greg Jein first big auction. And soon thereafter, I had a stunt in my collection, which Ryan then purchased from me, which was great. So I still only have the one, which is all I need. And he took my stunt, and that's the stunt you're now seeing there. So that worked out nicely for everybody.
Yeah. And a nice little relic of the Mandel collection that now lives in my collection. So it's very nice to have.
Now, is this the time to tell you that I've been making those phasers and kind of selling them in private deals to a lot of different people? They're
interesting.
It's 100% fake. Yeah. Is this because now the deal's done? No backsies. You don't know where I live. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But I want to believe it's real. So that's all.
You are welcome to. That is the beauty of prop collecting. You are always welcome to believe anything is real. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Private deals.
And I do actually have a little secret surprise that was unearthed when we were working on this display. But for this, I think we should bring in our guest, because I think he'll have something to say about it, what we discovered. So everybody, welcome back to the podcast for his 3rd visit, I believe, Mr. Rob Klein, Star Trek expert, archivist, collector,
Greg Jein associate.
Yes.
Author. What's your book called, Rob?
Back to the Future Almanac, 1985 to 2015.
Which is all about Star Trek, everyone.
Yes.
So you'll love that. The Back to the Future Almanac, all about Star Trek. It's really everything Rob knows about Star Trek is hidden in that book. Fantastic
just have to
book,
read between the lines.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a fantastic book. And Rob, I saved this for when knowing that you'd be on the podcast because I knew you'd really particularly enjoy this. So this is what we found when we dug it. Now remember, this was a full costume. So this was jacket, trousers, boots. The tunic was separate, but I did get the tunic. So this is what we discovered. And we see this.
Lifts. Fantastic.
And here's the label.
Kirk Shatner boot lifts. Bravo.
Yeah.
But they're not in. You didn't decide to lift your mannequin.
Well, because of the way he made the display, we needed to take them out. But I just coming soon, maybe to a future auction near you. These are they're like cork. They're like custom made to his foot, and you can see the
What would you say, about 1.5 inches? 2 inches? What would you say?
Yeah, it's like 1.5 inches. Yeah, I think that would be my guess at the heel. So just great. Just great.
Those
was this a
should be
detail that
paired.
you ever knew about, Rob?
Well, actually, I think there's a motion picture, Kirk, sort of, if you guys could see.
Mm-hmm.
The motion picture pants had the shoes built in.
Oh, right.
And-
The sort of slipper shoes. Yep.
Yeah, they have quite a few inches of height in there. Isn't it interesting? Maybe you could discover what era Star Trek you're on by the height or the lift of Shatner. And coincidentally, can those be paired up with the Shatner toupee? I feel like
that should go in a display together, right?
Just the toupee and the lifts. And then a folded up piece of paper from the pocket that just says, "I hate Leonard."
It'd be like the two shoes like this with the hair in the middle and just in a little shadow box. Yeah.
The thing, would Shatner be embarrassed by the lifts? Because I remember debating, is that something that you share, or do you protect his,
His
machismo by not saying how small he was or short?
What are you talking about? Of course I lifted. Everybody was lifting. It was the 60s.
Yeah, I feel like he can laugh about it now. Probably would not have thought it was funny in 1968 or whatever. I think that what little I know of him. That's my best guess. That is excellent. So that's really almost like 2 props for the price of 1.
Yeah. No, I was very excited about that. That'll go into the little archive box.
Well, on the pants, were they Wrath of Khan pants, or were they just movie pants paired? I mean, love to hear more about those.
There's I think the pants just say Shatner. There's a label in the jacket that says Star Trek 7. So, oddly, but which would have been Generations. Yeah.
Yes.
Does he wear? But he doesn't wear that jacket on when they beam down on that weird planet or whatever.
No, which is weird. Which is totally weird to me. And I actually, I've shown you, Dave, but I was able to match the jacket to Khan. It's actually matched to the scene where he's screaming Khan, because the ribbing, I can show pictures on the feed. The ribbing on the collar, it's all hand stitched,
because
and
it's
there's
up right in that moment. It's kind of
and there's just a weird. It's this sort of Elizabethan kind of deal with ribs in it, and where the ribs run out at the front, I think they just they made them even until they got there, and then they just filled the rest of the space they had. And there's just a jagged one on this side and a weird one on this side, and the stitching both exactly matches. So it was all custom done. So I don't really know what the story is there, but
we all know that they say SAG rules requires 2 changes or 2 objects, but those I've never heard of there being a second. It was just one off for each Savick, McCoy, and
that was my understanding. And I've talked to Don Hillenbrand, who's our also another resident Star Trek expert, and that was also his understanding. He was telling me he knows where the Bones jacket is. Another collector, but the Savick has never shown itself. But he said he's only ever seen one of each, and to his knowledge, there was only ever one. Don't know.
I could believe there was only one.
Yeah, it just seems like it's really nice and probably super expensive in its own strange way. So
yeah. I mean, I will say, from looking at, once you see that little detail, I looked at all the other stills that I had. I didn't frame by frame the film, but I looked at stills, nice high res stills from all over the movie when he's wearing, and he wears it for this half hour chunk in the middle of the movie. But it's that jacket every time. So I don't, if there was another, it was not on screen.
Are the admiral stripes on the pants? I can't really see. Or is it just? I mean,
yeah. Well, there's the red stripe running down the side.
yeah, it should be red, like an inch red strip with like a gold. But I would imagine, from what I understood,
No, just red.
de-admiraled his pants because he became Captain Kirk. I think in the fourth film he gets demoted to captain.
Yeah. Okay.
When I was making the 20 pairs of them, we just went red. We just thought red would be fine.
Was there a Harry Potter wand pocket in the trousers?
No, but actually,
it's got a Thor 2 hammer in the interior of the Kirk.
Good. But interesting, Rob, and I think I sent you a photo of this when I was exploring the jacket when I first got it. There is a custom phaser holster stitched into the right side of the jacket that fits perfectly the Khan style phaser. So when you see him, draw it out in the film, I think a lot of people thought he was pulling out of one of those giant pockets, but there's actually you can see it when they're walking around once you know what it is, where you see the handle exposed, and it's
like
just
a holster.
Yeah. It's just this little,
built like into the jacket,
crescent pocket, that the phaser just slips into. It's really nice, really cool.
We can dive even deeper. From what I've been able to see just from the film, they actually put the rear of the phaser in first because it's longer than the front. Does that make sense? Because you can kind of see he pulls it out and flips it around.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
nice. I'll try that too.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
So it holds on to it better.
Yeah, and but that's awesome. Fast.
And the jacket has pockets for like the communicator and the tricorder, right? Basically.
Yeah, they're filled with foam.
I know that, but I meant conceptually for those pieces.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, your replica communicator and tricorder was not in my pocket, though, Dave. Sorry.
Those are for sale. Privately.
Yeah, those are for sale.
And
then there's this like
in our chat.
Yes, and then there's this sort of acrylic kind of rations box, I guess, that you can actually see exposed because the lid of it is not a fabric lid pocket, but there's one the sort of pocket. There's two pockets in the front, and then there's one around the side, the side where the holster is not on the. I guess that's the left side. Where there's just an acrylic box, which I guess, I don't know, was for food or something on his away mission. The snacks box, space snacks.
Does this now officially count as a Wrath of Khan away team deep dive?
There you go.
Now?
Yeah. Book it.
New description. New description. Everyone stop your podcast. New description.
I feel I should add one other thing. You hear prop rumor, when you start, I was asking, hey, where are the landing party jackets from Wrath of Khan? And one of the things that I heard was, oh, they've been stripped. I'm like, well, what does that mean? And they were saying all the pockets were removed from them. It's just interesting, just prop rumor, prop legend, but clearly that was in good shape.
I don't know if this is true or not, because obviously she never reprised the role, but I think Kirstie Alley was buried in hers. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you guys ever heard that.
I didn't. Did it have pockets in it?
They had been stripped.
Yeah.
So the pockets are out there.
The pockets, you can get the pockets, and you can get her. She had the opposite of lift. She was too tall. They had something in there to make her shorter.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Well, that's fantastic. Congratulations. And
thank you.
And you got the collar up for maximum Shatner coolness.
Yeah. I'd asked Chris to figure out a rig to put in there to keep it up, but once it sat on the costume, it just stood up on its own. So sort of the spirit of Shatner is alive in my office, Rob.
The Shatner electricity, the Shatner-cicity.
Yeah. Boots not lifted.
What would the companion piece be in the Star Wars universe? Would that be like maybe the Han Solo Hoth jacket might be the equivalent?
I think so. Yeah, that's immediately where I would go.
Kind of cousin pieces, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite piece of wardrobe from those movies, certainly.
That
would be my choice of Star Wars wardrobe.
But there was never debate of the color of Shatner's,
No, it's clearly orange. I mean, it's right there behind Ryan, and it's clearly orange. Plain as day.
Yeah, I mean, I have a full-time DOP working who always color corrects my live feed, Dave. So he's working right now. We're just off camera.
He's got a really good filter on the lens. But
ACE. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let us now turn our attention to the Greg Jein Auction catalog. Once again, it is the Greg Jein Collection Hollywood Entertainment Showcase Auction, aka, even though Heritage doesn't call it this, we're, I think, calling it Greg Jein Part 2, because this really is kind of a continuation from the big October auction. The late Greg Jein, prop builder, designer, and collector. And this auction is, once again, March 29th at 11 a.m. Central Time in Dallas, Texas. And you can check out the whole auction and go along with us on ha.com and bid on ha.com. So very cool. We'll see people there March 29th. And I'll just going to start things off. And this was just something really neat to me. I built these things when I was a kid. And so I just jumped out at lot 4035, which was just, there's a couple of lots like this, but it was a 5 Navy ship artwork from like model kit boxes of like, World War II ships, an aircraft carrier, a couple of different things. And I don't know, I just got I love that these exist. One is the USS Massachusetts, the USS North Carolina, the Yorktown, just really neat little, paintings of the kits. I like that they exist. I used to like building models to some extent, but I like that Greg collected these things. So it felt, not that everything in this collection isn't part of him. This felt like one of his, like, sort of true sort of, I don't know, subreddit loves, I guess, for lack of a better word.
That's not Greg. That's not Greg, the professional model builder, and that's Greg the fan, the kid.
It's like Greg the kid learning to become the professional. I mean, I don't know, or something like that. Yeah. And also, obviously, in the grand scheme of model building, the obviously rich tradition of kit bashing, and clearly he had such a love of these model kits that he was so, forgive me, obsessed with them enough to go after the art from the model kits. Because look, I'm a longtime art collector. I've never seen like model kit like covers like this. So clearly he cornered the market the best he could on these things.
They weren't around
to begin with. Yeah, it's not something I've bumped into at conventions or whatnot. And I just, the connection between building model kits and then model kits being used to make props, I don't know, I love that connection. Anyway, I just got a real kick out of this, and I just thought it was just a fun piece. And like everything else in this auction, I think this one, the current bid it's at $12. I think they started this at $1. A lot of the stuff in this Greg Jein sort of part 2 auction is starting just ridiculously low. And again, who knows where it'll end, but it's all starting really low.
I enjoy that. There's the first thing that I flagged up was actually, I'm curious what Rob has to say about this, is lot 44 through 46. It's all of this original Thunderbirds comic artwork, or panel artwork, and it's by this artist Frank Bellamy, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I knew the Thunderbirds a little bit because my dad was a big fan of that, so I was kind of aware of all that era of sort of adventure things done with puppets. And of course, that's what Team America was based on, which is the only sort of modern reference that I think I can point to. But that style of puppet drama, and the Thunderbirds were probably the most famous case of that. But I guess Greg was a Thunderbirds fan. That all tracks. But he had all this really beautiful artwork. And I mean, when you look at this stuff, I mean, Dave, were you aware? Do you know this artist, Frank Bellamy? When you look at this stuff, it's just
I don't specifically know the Thunderbird stuff, but Bellamy is very well known as one of the big sort of British greats, if you will, as opposed to the British greats. He's one of the British greats.
Yeah.
He's one of the British greats. I think he did some Dan Dare, also was a big space comic. And the stuff that I remember, believe it or not, he did this incredible life story of Churchill, which I actually have an original in my collection. It was, each one is sort of looks similar to what the Thunderbolts Thunderbirds looks like, and it's each sort of would be like a sort of a pastiche from Churchill's life, and you can buy. There's like a big graphic novel that reprints all of that, and then he also did this great one called Heros the Spartan, which was sort of a his version of 300 a little bit, if you will.
Okay. Oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
So really incredible artists that worked in these vibrant colors. I was not familiar with this, but really, really great. So,
it reminded very much to me of Dave Stevens. I thought of The Rocketeer, looking at it, that style. I think the style that Dave was kind of hearkening back to, of that kind of Art Deco, I don't know, almost comic strip art, art. I mean, it's not quite, it's right. But the fine detailing and the way that it's done. But I really enjoy. I had never seen anything like it, and I really enjoyed it. So, and there you go. And very low starting bids for this really gorgeous artwork. So
very neat. Yeah, there's Greg was a comic art collector as well, and they've sold off some of the rest of his collection. There was a dedicated comic art sale that didn't have Greg's name on it, but it was mostly Greg's stuff, I believe. But there are pieces of comic art that relate more to sci-fi stuff in this auction, and I definitely marked a later one that I thought was kind of cool. Rob, you got a first piece that jumped out at you as we sort of kind of are looking at some of our favorite things in this this fine Greg Jein auction?
Oh yeah, several things. I love, well, I got to go back, and I have to ask you something here. If we can back just a bit.
Back away anywhere you like, yeah.
Does the artwork for the model kit make any more of an interest to you if it's artwork for a model kit that was used for model parts on a Star Wars model?
I would love to sit here and tell you that my knowledge base was such that I could say to you, well, that's the tank tread from a blankety blank thunder something or other that is on the the side of Millennium Falcon. My knowledge does not extend that far. I know there are people that would and could.
Because one of them. Well, one of them
you can see something.
The Yorktown was. I think there's like 4 or 5 model kits.
Is that a famous one that they talk about using?
Came from. It's like, how is that even possible? But that there are experts that could tell you every piece. But I think the Yorktown was one that they always said, oh, you need that if you're going to build a Battlestar Galactica, or you need that if you're going to build a Star Destroyer. And I don't know why, but it seemed like ILM or Apogee or whatever had like every kit.
Cornered the market on Yorktowns.
And it always made me wonder and laugh, like, did they just use those model kits because they bought out a warehouse of them, or did they seek those out because those had interesting parts? So I don't know, but Greg probably would have known that detail. But
my guess would be just simply that it was just the most common place that you could go in, I would think, into a store and buy a crap load of them. But I certainly could be wrong.
Right. So I wonder if, we know he loved World War II and airplanes and all that sort of stuff. But I wonder if there was another level where he's like, I must have the artwork for the kits that all these famous models were kit bashed from. So I just feel like I should throw that out there. So.
Yes, he had an encyclopedic knowledge of pieces like that. Yeah.
Right. Like somebody probably will chime in and say, oh, the Yorktown, like you said, has this Greebly for this model and all that sort of thing.
The radar dish for the
and then, so Ryan, you were talking about the Super Marionations stuff with, the guy that made Thunderbirds and all that sort of stuff. And it's just no surprise that Greg would have liked that because of the models and the miniatures and all that. So
yeah, it's all kind of right. I mean, it's all based on hand built things that artists like him built, and that's the entire drama of the show is based on that.
Yeah. So and then again, it's like I always say that when you can learn a lot about a person based on what they collect, and knowing Greg a little bit, I feel like I'm continuing to get to know him every time, we look at more of the stuff he collected, and you sort of start to connect the dots and go, oh, I understand why he'd like this. I never knew he liked baseball cards. So just seeing some baseball cards that he had, like the Jackie Robinson card, is just, wow. I mean, it's just neat that he had such a wide range of interest.
Yeah.
I had a question, which is, in this auction, there are a crap load of Star Trek replicas.
I had the same question.
Yeah, I guess like I was looking at 4072, which is one of the replica tricorders. Are these?
It's 4062 to 4076. Is this the famous box of crap that Greg had and used as reference? Is that what that is? Do you think, Rob? Do you know?
Well,
his I think it was his box of fakes or whatever he called, like the thing that he would catalog when everybody's would make, right, when somebody would make like a fake phaser, he would buy it, put it in a box, and then use it as reference to out other fakes. Wasn't that the
boy? I am more confused than I ever was with the thinking behind that. I mean, I know he loved Star Trek, and these replicas are great, but I never did understand what all that was about. And I did see the box of these at Heritage, and I went through them and to try to catch something that may have been thought.
But are these like well-known ones? Are these Mark English, or they're just all sorts of different ones, or we don't even know?
Yeah, from what I saw, it seems to be all sorts of different things. I mean, you look at the black and white phaser, for example, which I think is in there. The one with the white handle.
Right.
Does that make sense? And of course, that would be from the first few episodes before Gene Roddenberry said, "Can we do something better with the phaser?" And then they repainted it the gray, different colors. And then, but to me, it always was puzzling because I always thought, well, how did a black and white phaser get out? That was original. So even in the early days, I would just be like, well, one would have had to have disappeared early on. So I just always assumed that Greg just had a really accurate example of what a black and white phaser would have looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a fan, I totally get why he would want an example of that.
Or as I guess the case may be, 3 of them, because there's 3 with white handles. So
yeah. But I remember early on that he had black phasers with white handles, as did other collectors, and they were like, no, these are original. And so again, it's did he think at one time that it could have been original, or was it always just this is a replica? And that's sort of the information that we will never know now. At least I don't know.
Well, definitively now, regardless of how or why they were, gotten originally, they are definitively replicas now. And I don't know. I thought it was sort of interesting. I mean, again, it's a strange thing, but they certainly will be, I think, priced to move if you want to have a replica from the Greg Jein collection. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that one way or another, but I think it's sort of interesting. I guess I just got a kick out of the thing with the tricorders is they're old replicas. I mean, they look old and beat up in kind of an interesting way. I don't know. Again, I'm not sure what I'm looking for. I just thought it was interesting, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were some that were clearly not very detailed or kind of crude, and then there were ones that I remember he had showed me that were very intricate. And the word on the street was when everybody was sort of trying to figure out what was real, what wasn't real, was one of the comments was, if this thing isn't authentic, it was definitely made by a person that was genius to be able to the craftsmanship was always admired with some of these pieces that are being sold as not original items from the show. So I think that the history of Greg and his legacy and just these objects as wonderful examples of Star Trek, I think have interest. I don't know if I'd want to see them much more, but for Greg, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because it is part of the history of Star Trek collecting, in a way, and
I think very much so. I mean, until
I just wish they were like
gotten.
I wish they were like
orange.
red tagged.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Forever radio tagged as this was from Greg's box of replicas, so that they can't get back out there in a way that they're not intended to be. But very much enjoyed seeing that.
I can share that at one point we did a trade in the mid 90s, and I, like every Star Trek 60s fan, I'd love to have a phaser and a communicator. And I had done a trade with Greg and acquired one of these exact same phasers that's being offered. I think it's lot 4067. And when I was looking through the collection of stuff that was set aside as not authentic, it was neat to see. What he did was he came back to me after a year or two and said, some of that stuff I traded you might not be accurate. And he traded me something else and got back the communicator and phaser.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So he thought it was real. You took it because you thought it was real. And then he later discovered it wasn't.
And I didn't know what I was looking at. I was like, "You're Greg Jein. You need, would you have an extra phaser too?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think I do." And then he traded it. Time went by, and then he says, "Oh, I should probably get that back." And that was when sort of the lid blew off of the start. It was in the late '90s, early 2000s, where all of a sudden it was like, everything got locked down, and like, there's a guy that's been bootlegging Star Trek stuff as authentic. And it was like the lid blew off and the cat was out of the bag. So everybody, and I even had an original Phaser 1, which I actually got rid of. And at the time I was maybe 90% sure it was authentic, but I didn't know. And I got rid of it. And of course, in hindsight, that was the one that was auctioned and did really well.
Well, here, Rob, what do you think of this then? Lot 4.
I did want to just point out though, but I mean, it does go to show you why private deals are so great. So yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of proving the hypothesis. So that's good. Yeah.
Love it. But just a couple lots down here, Rob, 4080. This is a mid-grade type 1 phaser. What do you think of that?
Identical to the one that I parted with. And then it turned out the very one I had, Alan Asherman, who wrote the Star Trek Compendium and another very famous Star Trek, maybe the Star Trek chronology, I can't really remember. Certainly the Compendium, Alan Asherman. He was sent a box in the 60s by Gene Roddenberry, and one of the items in there was a very same Phaser 1 that I had. And I didn't know 100% that it was real, parted with it, and this one, 4080, is absolutely identical in every way to that Phaser, albeit a little bit more beat up. But the construction's the same. The aluminum wheel is the same. So, I mean,
I thought this piece was very cool because in an auction that is very much a bunch of extra stuff. I mean, for lack of a better word, that did not fit into the massive original auction. This is one of the gems to me. It's screen used. It's original Trek that jumped out. And the bidding there's active bidding on it, so it's not an unknown piece. I mean, anybody can see it logging into the auction, but it just felt to me like something that might just sort of whoosh by, especially after Prop Store and Planet Hollywood and all that. So keep an eye.
Yeah.
Rob, is this something just in the world where you had one and let it go, as you said, because you weren't sure at the time? Mm-hmm. Is this something, if you don't mind me asking, do you have your eye on this yourself a little bit, or certainly watching it?
Yeah. Definitely. It even has a wood dowel in the emitter, and if you notice that there's no hole, or it's just completely solid, and that was exactly how the one that I used to have was. I mean, it even has the second season gray paint job, and you can see the black paint job.
You're talking about the gray stripe with the black sort of under it, kind of a thing?
Mm-hmm,
is that what you're
exactly, because as I understand, they were black for season 1. And then they sprayed them that dark gray and rounded the grill. In the first season, it's just a complete right angle on the corners, and then they sort of have that rounded, alteration there. So it's just a fantastic piece, and I'd love to have a Phaser 1, but I think C'est la vie is sort of my attitude at this point with the Star Trek props. But it's a great
day is past.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, worth keeping an eye on. Really, just definitely neat, just very neat, very. What can you say? Very original series. There's no other way of saying it. It's just. That's just pretty kind of wonderful.
Mm-hmm,
and then the piece you were sort of talking about, which is another one of the original series pieces in this auction, which is the knowledge helmet from Spock's brain. Probably one of the, I guess for the wrong reasons, most famous episodes of Star Trek. just seems like the one that everyone always points to for the wrong reasons. But
this was offered in the first Greg Jein sale, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it was?
I seem
there
to
was
remember...
one in it. Yeah, I didn't know whether there were two or this is another one or whether it was a rerun.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I just wish it really worked so I could put it on and become smarter about Star Trek props. But I don't. I think it's just a prop and it doesn't work.
Just identify real phasers from fake ones.
I wonder
just
if
bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
I wonder if just the winner just sort of went away or something, because certainly everything was sort of it what didn't have like a ridiculous reserve on it or anything like that in the first auction, but who knows?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It was the one thing that bidder 1701 refused to pay for in the end.
He's like, I'm going to write you a check for $5 million, but not a penny more. You can keep the Spock helmet.
Right.
Maybe he'll be back for this. He realizes he
was so mad that he got outbid on the X-Wing that was his revenge piece.
Yeah.
I'll show you with my Spock's brain piece. Well, a fun memory of a wild and woolly episode.
Because I have no original series knowledge at all. I have not actually seen that episode. Is that considered to be like the worst episode of Star Trek? Is that the...
Nimoy hated the episode.
Okay.
I feel like there are worse episodes, but that's the easy reference to a bad episode, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
It's the sort of... It's like if you're a shitty Star Trek stand-up comic, that's your punchline, Spock's brain. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, okay.
I feel like I deserve this piece because I had 2 of the 4 females that actually come aboard the Enterprise, or one of them comes up, uses the helmet of knowledge, and then steals Spock's brain. I think I still have one in my collection, but I think one representation from Spock's brain is enough of it for anything, and then you just move on. So. But that's a wonderful piece,
There were 2 other Trek pieces that I actually got kind of, I don't know if one I got a kick out of and one that I thought was useful. And I'll call them out really quickly. We don't have to spend a lot of time on them. But 4087 is a pair of Scotty's pants. And not so much specifically Scotty's pants, but basically any opportunity to get sort of original series black pants. It feels like something that could be used to complete any uniform, if you have a Zulu, a Chekhov, a Scotty, whoever, just to be able to get black pants. They're few and far between. The chance of maybe perhaps getting the character you want is tough. And if you certainly have your eye on a tunic or you have a tunic already, these pants complete it. So that was something that jumped out at me just as a, and again, they're not going to stay right now. They're at $1. There's been no bidding. The current bid is $1. I believe they will sell for, I'll stake my reputation on this. I think they're going to sell for at least $2. And I just think, again, for your original series collection, it's not a bad thing to grab. So I sort of wanted to point that out. But the piece that I actually did really enjoy was lot 96, 4096, which is the phaser sketch, which I just really love the look of it. No specific artist is mentioned, but clearly notes about construction and how it's made and whatnot, and certainly period, or at least certainly somewhat old. I'll leave it at that. Again, not quite exactly sure what or where, but certainly I thought really interesting. So I don't know, that jumped out at me.
I love those pieces. I was going to say on the pants, going back there really quickly, there seems to be a debate amongst Star Trek wardrobe people of what is considered first season pants versus third season. And these are what I would refer to as first season pants because they actually have
I was going to say the difference being what? Pockets is the main difference?
They have pockets, and you'll notice if you look closely, they have like a diagonal where on the pants where, it's just like a normal jeans pocket. And also the zipper is exposed. And then later, I thought they sort of went to just your traditional sort of fly with a cover on it. So anyway, I would just think it's interesting to say I would consider those first season pants and also with the phase 2 cuff. So I think that's something that I definitely...
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. So, but most of the pants were redone for
phase 2. which then never happened, and then ultimately sort of became the motion picture, but with other different costumes, I guess.
Just total bell bottoms vibe. I think that's the thing we don't ever see when they're offered, is they flare out. And I've seen Star Trek toys done these days they reference somebody's Phase 2 pair and thought, oh, original Star Trek, and then they have the Phase 2 cuff, and it's just, you can make fun of it and say, oh, wrong, because they never had those. So
great. So I mean, my next thing is actually on the next page of at least my auction summary here. I'm jumping ahead to 4111.
Yep,
I don't know.
4111.
This is such a cool piece.
I kind of liked 4111. I was going to say, and 4112, even though they're different. Again, very different pieces. But go ahead here. Yeah.
So this is the original crew logo artwork from 2001, and again, just another one of these gems that's just buried in here. And what a cool piece! And it's the I think what Clavius base. Discovery Clavius base. There's all these different I guess assignments postings surrounding it, but it's at the United States Aeronautics Agency because they couldn't use NASA,
right? But very much modeled after sort of the NASA thing, in terms of naming, like the specifics of the mission and all of that kind of stuff. I guess this is a slightly different than the final logo per se, at least according to the description, but I still thought it was pretty cool. That does not bother me.
It doesn't
or
bother
hamper me.
Yeah, because it's like seeing how the sausage is made, essentially.
Boy, I have one on my wall, and it looks exactly from 2001, an original. It's like pretty similar. I just think they didn't.
Really?
I think they don't have a Clavis base and Glencoe. I think what they ended up using is just within the circle, if that makes sense. United States astronauts, But that's just my 2 cents. So it's like you just omit Glencoe, Discovery, and Clavis base.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. This might be something that I've tagged it. So
it's a good piece.
And the piece that follows it, which is, I guess it's sister piece, but not really, 4112. And I think we've made it pretty clear through many episodes. I am certainly not a replica guy. I'm not looking to buy replicas. However, big however, this is a really nice, Bowman spacesuit helmet replica. And I don't know. I've made my peace with the fact that I don't think I'm ever going to own a real one. And I don't know, just fun to have a replica, I guess.
Yeah, especially from this provenance, right? From Greg's world.
From whoever Greg got this from, whatever other fellow
or
prop
Greg
builder.
made it.
What I understood, and this is where now the rumor comes in, and of course there's, again, I have to say, there are people that knew Greg better and more of an expert on all this. I heard that these existed because he provided the helmets for 2010 off of his costume. So it's interesting, like, did he mold his in order to help the 2010 production?
Oh, interesting.
Or did he already have a mold made just because he had a moon suit at one point, right? As we know.
Yes, so last auction, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there that, he certainly was involved with 2010, and I think that makes it maybe a little bit more of an interesting backstory, but maybe I certainly don't know exactly how to connect all the dots other than just sketching out what I mentioned there.
And again, at the end of the day, it's still a replica. Like I said, I just thought it was a nice one. I don't know, sounds silly. Just be a fun thing to have, like, on your desk. I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very neat. Yeah.
What else is hitting you, Rob?
Boy, in this sort of this era of stuff, how can we talk about? Let's see, what's the lot here? 4120. I don't know what this thing is. It's like a hoodie. It's like a purple hoodie. Do you see that?
Yeah. It says purple tunic, unidentified production. I mean, barring the specific zipper down the middle, it looks very Star Trek, except for the zipper.
All I can tell you is I have a first season pilot Star Trek tunic blue, the ones they made for the cage and reused in Where No Man's Gone Before and a few of the early episodes, it looks exactly like that in the purpleness now, and the fabric is literally identical. So it's like somewhere in there, there's what is this thing? Was it a prototype? For an early Star Trek landing jack? I don't know. I guarantee you at some point.
You're just saying the fabric is clearly similar, even if the exact design is not. That's interesting.
Exactly. Like, was this like, hey, we'll make a hoodie out of the extra Star Trek fabric, or was this some sort of costume that was a prototype? I mean, it literally, yeah. I mean, it's. I would say this is from somewhere from the Star Trek productions. But I can't be sure. But
fascinating. Oh, really interesting.
It's something there.
The material looked super Star Trek to me. It's just the zipper threw me big time. So yeah,
I could even take a still shot of the tunic to put up if you guys do sort of cut to B-roll on this wonderful show you guys do to show how similar it is with the age and the look.
I mean, we're willing to do it. We do find our YouTube audience really sometimes tunes off if they can't be looking at me and Ryan nonstop.
Well,
but
fair enough.
We're willing to put up the picture of a prop from time to time if we,
staring longingly into my eyes.
It's just Greg knew why he had this, and we don't really know. And I guarantee
there's a reason he has it. That
Yeah.
makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah.
While we're on this this page area, I did want to call out. This is my my pick for the sexiest piece in the auction, which is 4119. It is a transparency as well as an 8x10 of Kim Hunter as Zira from Planet of the Apes. In her naughtiest pose, showing a lot of sleeve, a lot of undersleeve. Yeah. Which
it's
is
it's her come hither.
Yeah. Very well. Hello, bright eyes. No, Cornelius isn't home.
Hello, human.
You don't hear a lot about Planet of the Apes pornography. I find that's something that hasn't really got a big footprint.
I don't think people just talk about Planet of the Apes enough at all. So it's just great that we're going to celebrate the original Planet of the Apes.
The original pornography? Yeah, we're going to celebrate the original pornography.
Yeah, the sexual magnetism of an ape person.
Yep.
Very good.
Kim Hunter.
My next one is actually 4185. Do you guys have anything before that?
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about 4165, which is sort of an interesting but also an oddity. It's not all of a Cylon Centurion from Battlestar Galactica. And I was sort of drawn to it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I do have one in my collection. And there are definitely some sort of differences, and then also what looks like some missing pieces, and then perhaps a couple of bonus pieces from other shows that maybe shouldn't be there. The weirdest thing, unfortunately, is I had always been told that Greg had a full one with a helmet, and it's clear the helmet is not a part of this lot, was not in the first auction, is not in this auction. So I guess maybe one of the unfortunate side effects of his of Greg being gone was whether he sent the helmet somewhere and forgot to tell anybody or what, but no helmet, which just kind of sucks. Although what's interesting, I guess, is the fact there is no helmet. I do wonder, certainly, is there a price, is there a bargain price? It is at $12.50 already, but maybe perhaps would not go as high if it did have the helmet. It has a couple of pieces that I don't have on my collection. I have replica boots. These boots look real. I don't have a sword. The sword looks real. The undersuit, my undersuit is a replica. This undersuit looks like half might be real, but half is messed with. Is that what we think here, Rob? Are you looking?
I don't
at this
think
undersuit?
your undersuit's replica.
Oh, I thought my undersuit was a replica. Why did I think that? Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Well, I stand corrected. Okay.
I want to buy this lot because I want the V holster that's put with it, because that's exactly what that is.
So that's a V holster.
Yes.
That's there for the sword. So the sword goes with the Cylon.
Yeah.
And then the V holster does not. Only it does. I'm interested in the skirt. It has the
Is it possible the V aliens and the Cylons were in league together?
I think we're
merger between
we're
Warner
starting to
Brothers.
learn something. Yeah.
Warner Brothers Universal crossover series. I remember when Greg got his Cylon, when Universal stuff was sort of found after Universal had sold the sci-fi department, sci-fi wardrobe, and Greg wanted a Cylon. I think
they sold it. Forgive me, Rob, in auction or sold it to another studio or what?
Yeah, they needed more space at the Universal wardrobe department, and they sold it to a privately owned wardrobe house that supported the television and film industry.
Gotcha.
And and then they figured out exactly what Universal did. It's like, none of this sci-fi crap rents, so let's us sell it now. And then they sold it to, and then because sci-fi people, they want to build their own stuff, And but the thing about this that's interesting, and I'm sure maybe maybe the one or two other people out there that know Cylon stuff maybe perhaps better than I don't know what's going on with those Cylon pants. They're very unique. It almost has it's missing the hard outer thigh armor, which is sort of the gunmetal gray color. So it's definitely a unique Cylon.
It almost looks like it was cut and then something like new leggings were either stitched on or something was peeled off. I don't know.
I mean, I'm making this up, but it could have been like a suit that was used for a Cylon that would sit perhaps in the cockpit of the Raider, something that they could actually sit down in versus.
So you didn't really need the legs didn't matter. Gotcha.
Yeah, and that would be a theory of why that would be unique like that. But
certainly a good theory.
Yeah, the armor looks fantastic, and the boots look great. So. You're going to buy it just for the boots, Dave.
I'm not lying. I was kind of interested in the sword, the boots, and the skirt because those are the pieces, I guess, that I would add to mine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to buy it, but
maybe because it was incomplete to begin with. If it was a sit-down version, maybe that's why the helmet was sort of mined from it for a trade or something.
Absolutely,
on its own.
Maybe he traded the helmet for the V holster.
Also possible, Dave.
Yeah.
My next one is 4185. I loved this this little collection of Starfleet development sign and decals. It was just it was all very Trek to me, and it leapt out at me, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's instant Trek without it being a very big piece.
Yeah. Sorry, 4184. 4185 is the panoramic behind the scenes publicity shots with artist embellishments. The next lot, which
also,
is also
beautiful. Also beautiful. Yeah.
Next generation era labeling looks like, right? 4184 you're talking about?
Yes, correct. Yeah, with that it is sort of, it does look next gen, doesn't it? And Galaxy class, I mean, that would be next gen, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because Galaxy class was a term that was introduced in next gen.
Yeah, it would be the Enterprise D would be that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, because of when the ships got so big and the families and all that stuff? Is that what made them Galaxy or whatever? Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, that was the best starship in the fleet was a Galaxy class starship, and there were only a handful of them, the Enterprise being one.
Ship of peace, no longer a battle cruiser or something like that.
Yes.
4178, just to backtrack for a second because we were talking about comic art.
Yeah.
This is a Buck Rogers in the 25th Century piece. It's a comic art cover from Whitman Comics. And let's see, is there an artist? Artist Chuck Lease. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Not familiar with the artist. But just just classic space battle scene.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Those half sort of domes almost look like something out of Battlestar Galactica. Wasn't it? Remember, wasn't there a ship that had those sort of half domes?
Yeah, the ship they stole from Silent Running.
Oh, is that where where that came from? Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
What was the name of that? I don't even know. That was the aggro ship for Galactica. So very similar. Let's use it again for Buck Rogers. It's got
the Buck Rogers, the main sort of whatever their ship is called. I always remember the Draconian Raider, but I don't know what these are. But anyway,
Thunderfighter.
Thunderfighter. Okay, well, really nice shot of the Thunderfighter in action. can only assume that Buck is in there somewhere. Just a fun comic cover, and again, the sci-fi tie-in. So I thought that was sort of
I was always
interesting.
under the impression that the Thunderfighter was designed and maybe not presented for Star Wars, but I know it was presented for Galactica, and they were like, nah. And then they got the Viper, and the Thunderfighter was kicked on down the trough to Buck Rogers. Poor Buck Rogers getting all the rejected items.
Yeah.
I think it's a great design, so I don't feel bad for them. Where to, anybody? Rob, you got something?
Well, I think we should mention the 4177. It's the Draconian Marauder sketch, hatchet fighter, concept sketch. Okay. Wonderful piece. I mean, rough, but pretty spectacular if you're a Buck fan.
Yeah, I mean, another really pretty design. I had all these toys when I was a kid, so I still have a fond memory of these.
All
ships.
this stuff skipped me by, but it's the designs.
Ron, you were a little young for that era, so you missed out on the initial. But yeah, I mean, we were all, Dave, you and I are very close in age, so we were obsessed, of course, with what Star Wars did, and now we were like, give us more sci-fi, and we got Battlestar, and we got Buck Rogers, and of course, us being Mego fans, Mego did the Buck Rogers line.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden we had, I mean, forgive me, but weekly Star Wars. We had every whatever Sunday and Saturday or Friday, I think was Buck Rogers. Just every week, and there was some money up on the screen, and it meant something. And then we had the toys, and they were 3 3/4 inch size. The Mego toys, and we had those, and it was really wonderful. The Twiki
Isn't it
toy.
Interesting though how as Star Wars fanatics, and then we got Battlestar and we got Buck Rogers, and then I certainly didn't know this as a kid until later when you started going, this is all designed and built by the same people that did Star Wars.
No, it's all just you realize it's all like Ralph McQuarrie and Richard Edlund and Joe Johnston and
the masters,
exactly.
So that's my excuse when you get made fun of for being a Battlestar or Buck fan. You go, the Star Wars people, you go like, well, it's all made by the same people. Oddly enough, it hasn't really made those Battlestar and Buck Rogers have more interest. Star Wars fans still just kind of go, yeah, we know, but we don't care, so.
Speaking of Star Wars, 4188, a replica, but I just thought it had a neat little story. They are a pair of the space slug teeth from the asteroid chase in Empire Strikes Back, but one of them is signed happy 40th birthday, Greg, from Lorne, 1985, and that's from Lorne Peterson, model maker extraordinaire from ILM, who made, among other things, I'm guessing, the Slug, and a very nice guy. And the story I got a kick out of. So
that is fun.
Just kind of neat. Replica, but again, kind of a replica with a fun story. So,
but you're still going to be bidding, Dave.
No, I don't think I need these. I think I actually, unfortunately, have
real space.
No, I think I have like replica ones of my own that were not birthday gifts. So be it.
Very good.
If someone would like to get me this as a birthday gift to me, that would be fine. We can add. And
all right.
Happy 54th, Dave. So please.
Can I add that,
please jump in.
Sometimes people say, because I love Star Wars and at least the first three. And people say, you Rob, you're not going to go to the Star Wars Celebration. And I would say, well, no, because sometimes when I go over to hang out with you, Lorne Peterson would just be there. So we would have like a private Star Wars convention in your place. And so, I don't know, it's just Lorne Peterson and you and good memories. So maybe I need to buy that, the slug tooth.
We can write happy birthday, Rob, on it. I think.
Yeah, just cross it out.
What else, guys?
Here. I'm making a ton of slug teeth right now as we speak. So.
How about Firefox prototype that we all know that Greg worked on? That's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
4192.
It's a movie I have not watched in about 400 years, but I have fond memories. I don't want to be disabused of those fond memories, so don't say anything.
No. I'll say, can I add a positive thing here?
Please,
to Firefox for the 10 fans out there? I don't know how many fans, but I collect 35 millimeter film and 16 millimeter film, so I got the Firefox trailer. I don't know why, but I did. And I was laughing because I didn't remember that part of the marketing campaign was that no one would be allowed to leave the theater in the last 10 minutes because of the excitement that they were going to see.
Oh, very
and
good.
I was like,
Sounds very
no
safe.
one would be allowed to leave the theater ever.
Yeah. I think the trick was to make it to that point with Firefox. No offense to any.
They
to Tim
felt
Laws
like if they kidnapped everyone that saw the movie, who then couldn't tell other people don't go see the movie, they would be pretty okay.
It's the reverse word of mouth campaign.
Yes.
It's preventing the word of mouth.
You had to think in Russian to make the Firefox plane. That was sort of the, I guess, like the spoiler alert. That was, so maybe like with the Spock's brain helmet, maybe there's some sort of thought process that will make it work. I don't know, helmets that do things and read your mind.
If you ever question that like Clint Eastwood was the biggest star in the world at some point in our universe, Firefox sort of proves that point. That they, like in a million years, would you ever put Clint Eastwood in that movie if you like actually spent like a minute thinking about it? It's just it's sort of almost like like putting him in a superhero movie. Do you know what I mean? Like right on the edge of that. There were no superhero movies then.
Yeah, he was tired. Yeah, he was tired of the Western look. He had to go sci-fi and get with the times.
Just so specifically funny. What else you guys got? I've got 4196, which I thought was sort of interesting. If anyone has anything before that.
Sure. Yeah, my next is 209.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This was in this. There's a little V section with a bunch of his stuff from V. Speaking of V, and this is a hard hat that has looks like the patch off the V baseball cap. I've had V baseball caps in my collection. I've had the black security helmet, such as in 4194. I've never seen this construction helmet with the patch on it. I've never seen one. I've never been offered one. I was just sort of surprised to see it. I didn't even really remember it from the miniseries per se, but
that's a deep dive V piece.
Yeah, but that's what I kind of liked about it. Yeah.
I mean, just a point, if we go back to the trooper helmet, Visitor Shock Trooper helmet, that's as good as any of them that exist.
Yeah, because the ones that I've seen in the past are really beat the crap out of. And this one, there's definitely some you can see on the back part. There's definitely some wear and tear. But the front and the fact that it's still on the, I don't know what do you sort of the hinges, the adjustable mask. This looks like in a pretty nice condition. I haven't obviously checked this one out in person yet, but looking at the front and the back photos, really just nice on the outside and seems to be, like I said, in good working condition.
Yeah, when Warner Brothers dumped the V wardrobe in the 2000s, the helmets that they had still had were really in bad shape. The visors missing altogether, so this would probably be a great one for somebody to upgrade.
Preserved before that,
Yeah, by Greg, of course, he worked on V, as we know.
209, is that what you said next?
Yes, that was just a hero Klingon disruptor from
I
Search
marked
for Spock,
this as well.
Which what a cool and I love these designs, and again, kind of buried in this collection. This could have been a day one or auction one Greg piece, and it just happens to land here, and it's just a great find from a cool movie.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 lots, I think, from 3 Search for Spock, and then there may be a couple belonging to like Chancellor Gorgon from Undiscovered Country. There's a couple of other Klingon ones.
Yeah, and there's the disruptor, the hand disruptor too, that Kirk uses.
Yes,
from Voyage Home.
I was curious to kind of dig in and see if I could get a screen match on that piece. I was curious.
That's a neat one. Yeah, that's
where he shoots at he lasers the door basically.
Yeah.
In the hospital there, locks the doctors in. Yeah, and this sort of goes right along with how...
I also just always love that scene of like, get in there. What is it, a gun? That guy who says that actor who's in all those Mel Brooks movies. What is that, a gun?
Hilarious. Well, and it was so Greg, too, because there wasn't really a lot of Klingon disruptors or Star Trek 3 props. I mean, I guess you'd see them maybe once or twice, but now that we know, he had like all of them.
He had the whole bucket. Yeah,
he totally did. And, the communicators and weird phaser, Klingon phaser, as you just mentioned from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, I mean, that looks like a matchable piece to me. The disruptor 4232.
Yeah, it looked like there was some good markings on it, that there'd just be at least something there. And again, not going to chase it to the ends of the earth, but boy, it'd be nice to just grab that and be done with a piece from those.
Star Trek IV was not a Touchstone movie, correct? It was Paramount, and Touchstone Pictures had nothing to do with it because it has such that vibe.
No, they're all. I mean, obviously they're
all Paramount.
They
right?
kind of loosened the reins and went a little more into the humor and stuff. But no, I think it was still all Paramount as far as I know.
Can you guys do a whole show just on comparing the vibe between Three Men and a Baby, which was directed by Leonard Nimoy, Touchstone, and the vibe of Star Trek IV, because they seem like they're just so similar and feel good movies.
We covered in our last episode, Rob, the Mr. Toilet Man from I guess that's from Look Who's Talking, but it's all a similar era talking babies.
It's Michael Eisner magic.
Yeah.
Is that what we're calling it?
Yes.
Perfect. 4249 was another one that jumped out at me as we get into the home stretch. I don't know if anyone else had anything before that.
Go for it.
This was just really interesting because it's some kind of a notebook, basically, of Greg's like notes and drawings. And I have to admit, like, this is another piece maybe similar to the model kit covers, where it just felt like you were really getting a piece of Greg. There's some storyboards, some ship designs,
Flesh Gordon
ship
design,
battle stuff, and then there's a Flesh Gordon sort of a parody of Dr. Strangelove of Flesh Gordon. I think it's him sort of riding the missile, but maybe it's a parody of something else. I don't know. I thought it was Strangelove, but maybe I'm wrong. But I
think you're right. He's holding a hat, Dave.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Okay.
Or no, that's
that's
a penis gun. That's the O and Gordon.
The penis gun. Yeah. It just, it was the fact that this is sort of Greg's drawings. I don't, just a real piece of him. I thought that was just something. Again, you don't see, and I don't know. It just kind of blew me away. So
yeah, that was fun.
I don't, also right now still at $1. So yours to have, but I don't know. And as I ended up with many pieces from Greg's collection from the first round of the auction, I've been thinking about this auction as an opportunity to maybe grab something that is a little more of Greg, if that makes any sense, like a little more connected
specific
to him.
Yeah.
And I just thought, obviously, his drawings would be something very specific. Anyway, I did really like it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I jumped to a little further down from there. I just liked the Klingon goblet from Undiscovered Country, 4269.
From the dinner party or whatever.
Yeah, that goes horribly wrong. Just enjoyed that. I know that's a movie that people are sort of run hot and cold on, but that was the one that, other than Voyage Home and Con, that was the one that I watched all the time as a kid because I loved all the action in it.
I thought it held up and holds up, and lives very true to the whole even numbers thing. 246. So,
yeah.
Had more action than motion picture did, arguably.
Yeah, in the first 5 minutes.
This podcast has more action than motion picture did. Rob, anything else for you?
Wow. I love seeing the tricorders from Star Trek V and Star Trek. Actually, I think they appeared in Star Trek 3, but they carried through to 6. And again, I had never seen those hit the auction or in collectors.
That is cool. That's calling it a hero tricorder. I guess I breezed by that one, but that is very cool.
Yeah,
and it's a throwback to the original series. The way the phasers sort of changed back once Nimoy was directing, they went back to the gear that looked like evolutions of the 60s stuff.
Yeah, like we're still going to wear it around our shoulders, basically.
Right. I would love to know, because in Star Trek lore, they make up all sorts of things. Of course, never happened in the show, but they make it into logical reasons. I wonder if they just said all the gear from Star Trek 2 is defective. It was all recalled and they redesigned everything. So we all know it's because they didn't have the budget to make new stuff for Star Trek 2. But,
well, when they figured out, Rob, that you can hack another starship with a 4-digit PIN, I think they had to just recode everything. You know, it's like who allowed this?
Right. But that tricorder,
a great parable for our ongoing technological issues here in America.
But 4263, I mean, that is exactly what Leonard Nimoy is using in Star Trek V. Maybe that's the one,
Yeah.
With more research.
Worth an investigation, right?
Yeah, and it says the electronics are untested, but Heritage is being very cool about sort of leaving the research there for the fans to connect the dots and
do your research.
Yeah, and they'll end up with and again,
do my research for me and email me the results.
There you go. And then I jump down to, just as we cruise into the Deep Space Nine verse, I know both of you guys will be sort of cruising along there. I did like the lot 4283, the LCARS panel from DS9 for the Defiant, just because that ship design is so cool, and that was a really cool evolution. I thought that fit right into the world there, and everybody loves that ship. It's the true warship of the 90s television era.
I love the design of the ship. I like that it existed. I'm not sure the execution ever lived up to the promise. Episodically, I guess is what I'm saying.
There was no families aboard the Defiant, right? Is that what it was?
Not
it was
enough families.
It was the Millennium Falcon of Star Trek. I mean, that's what I always
just sort of war families, Rob. They would, if they bonded just over killing, killing Cardassians.
Cool piece.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. It's no Spock's brain, but it is a good piece. That was actually the last lot that I flagged up. What else did you guys have?
I wrote down just 4306, which is a Chris Pine one from the, I guess technically Star Trek Beyond, but I enjoyed. I thought his Kirk was by far the best part of those movies. Really just enjoyed him and what he brought to it, and full nice Kirk uniform, sort of a salute to the original series, but at the same time, clearly made of like, whatever it's called, wicking sports material, very Lululemon or whatever. And I liked Pine, so I like this ensemble. So yeah.
Could you actually say that Chris Pine became Chris Pine through Kirk? I mean, that was his breakout role, right? Or he
had done some other things, but I think that was the thing that really elevated him.
I just think that that's a great investment-worthy piece that it's not, people will remember it.
I love Carl Urban in those movies.
Yep, also really good.
Yeah. As Bones.
Do you guys think there's anything you're going to seriously go after for yourselves? If you, I mean, where
2001 artwork. I put a bit in on it while we were going through the catalog. I love it. I want it.
Not a lot of 2001 stuff around.
No.
I don't want it, but I want to bid you up, so I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. What about the Masters of the Universe rifle? You can't get enough of anything from Canon Films, so I think that I'm going to add to my Canon film collection and try to get the Masters of the Universe.
Your Canon?
Yes.
There's the documentary on the Canon Films in the 80s, and then there's a documentary on Rob and his collecting of Canon film stuff.
I have to, speaking of Canon Films with Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus, I just love how they were approached to be in the documentary they were going to make on them, and they declined and then decided they were going to make their own documentary on themselves, which came out shortly after. It's just the classic continues with those two characters.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what the Eagles did. That really great long Eagles documentary.
Yeah.
I think somebody else was going to make an Eagles thing, and they were just like, well, fucking make it ourselves. And, they did.
Yeah. Classic.
How about that?
And then Glenn Fried passed away or something really right after. So what a mess. Not enough Eagles rock band stuff in Greg's auction for some reason.
No, when I think of Greg, I think of the Eagles, and I think of his love of the Eagles, and also of just California harmonies. When I think of Greg, it's what I think of.
A lot of acoustic guitar in the desert and peyote, and
but also Poco, Timothy B. Schmidt, et cetera, et cetera. That's where my brain goes. Yeah, not enough Eagles stuff.
He did
yeah,
check into the Hotel California.
Eventually. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm dying to go after. I feel like there's a couple little odds and ends, and I definitely wouldn't mind, piece of artwork here and there just to try, see what happens. Probably not bank breaking, but probably, just sort of see if I could win a couple of little things
Skim
for, a couple of grand. Yeah, I call it a happy day. So yeah.
This auction has a lot less pressure and just insanity in a good, the first Greg auction was, it was insane. This is a little bit more fun. Like Spock's brain, perhaps you could have a little bit more fun with this episode. So with this auction,
do you buy that, Rob, and display it over your Spock original costume that you won from the? Oh no, you won Bones, right? You had Spock, but you have a Spock, so you could display it over.
I would get chastised by hardcore Star Trek fans that I'm mixing third season with second season, and you have to keep them like apart in the room, can't cross the streams there.
They need to have proper firewalls. They can't be within the same.
There's probably at least like a 6 foot lines. There's a 6 foot distance that must be maintained at all times.
Very good.
I think we should also point out one last piece, which is very interesting, at least with the original series, is the Klingon communicator, which is lot 4091, which appears, I think, in the episode Day of the Dove.
So it's actually from the original series.
Again, somebody else may know more, but so there's a lot of hidden gems,
interesting. Okay.
From lesser known, not as well known as the Phaser 2, this Klingon communicator, I would say. So slip through the cracks.
Yeah, there you go. There are some gems, some gold to pan for in this auction. But there you go. That's the final auction episode for this crazy March auction season that we had.
Yes.
My goodness, so many.
At least this one is a little slower and not, because they kept growing. At least, this Greg Jein auction was like 11 days, what I mean? It just, I don't know what we would have done. Yeah.
Yes. Dave and I are looking forward to discussing another topic when we next convene. But Rob, thank you so much for joining us and lending your Greg Jein, Star Trek, Buck Rogers, and Firefox knowledge.
And Eagles. Thank you for having me back.
Eagles, yes.
It's always... I think we're all very restrained always, so I keep waiting for us to go completely crazy.
This episode, the Stuffed Dreams Are Made Of pivots into an all Eagles Wrath of Khan away suit talk show.
Very good. That was Bart came back to us. He said Rob said he'd be on the podcast, but he's getting his 5 minutes in about the Eagles, and that was his contract rider. It's like the no green M&Ms.
Did Greg Jein build the model for the Hotel California? Maybe we could start really confusing people. So
yeah, there you go. It's all part of the mystery. But thank you, Rob. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Rob. Is Rob our most our most guest, whatever
our
that
most
is?
Guested guest.
I'm honored. 3 or 4 for me, so I feel like reoccurring character now.
You get like a varsity Letterman jacket now, Rob.
Awesome, and we'll make him look like the landing party jackets or something.
Yeah, that's actually not.
I think I gave Rob a hat when he was at the house last time. So
and a shirt. No, it's fantastic. You're not legit until you got your own crew shirts and crew T-shirts. So.
That's right.
You guys
I just really mainly wanted to point that out to say, Ryan, you owe me for half a shirt and half a
Got it. Okay, cool. I'll take it off the bogus replica phaser you sold me.
No, that's again. No, that deal is finished. That is
okay. This is turning the page.
Yeah, no, that's
New deal?
That's 2023.
Got it. Okay, I'll talk to my lawyer about that one.
Well, hey, thank you, everyone. This was another episode, if nothing else. Bid at the Greg Jein auction, which, as we said, was, I used to know when it was. It is
March 29th.
Oh, there you go. March 29th. HA.com, the Greg Jein Collection Hollywood Entertainment Showcase Auction, HA.com. In the meantime, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us 5 stars on your podcast app and subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on social media at Props Podcast and email us with any thoughts about anything.
There you go. And from one lift to another, we thank you for joining us.
From one lift to the other, may the force be with you.
Always.